So what's the deal with pesticides and IV therapy? Any association?
Well, I will say that IV therapy will get pesticides out faster than anything that I have seen or my mentors have seen in practice
Mm-hmm.
because you're bypassing the gut. You're putting something in the veins that will bind pesticides very strongly, and you're pulling it out of the person so they can get healthier.
Yeah. What kinds of substances are you finding to be valuable here?
As far as putting in the IVs or
Mm-hmm.
pesticides
No, yeah,
in
putting
the
in the
IVs,
IVs, yeah.
number one, I would say hydration.
Yeah.
90% of people are dehydrated, so you put sodium chloride in their veins, it's going to be helpful.
Yeah,
But as far as binding out pesticides, glutathione is number one.
for sure. So what exactly is glutathione?
Glutathione is a master antioxidant. Our liver makes it, so everyone has it in their bodies already.
Mm-hmm.
So there's very, very, very low chance of having a reaction. But it's a master antioxidant that has a sulfur group on it, and that sulfur group is very polar, meaning it's going to bind things such as heavy metals, molds, pesticides.
Right.
And then once it gets through the bloodstream, our liver processes it, goes to our gut, and then we poop it out, or
Mm-hmm.
we pee it out, or we sweat it out.
Yeah. I've, in my research, pesticides come out primarily in the urine. Is that what you found too?
Yes, except there's been some studies on sweating.
Uh-huh.
And if you sweat, they say about 20 minutes, that's when the pesticides really start coming out, which
Nice.
is interesting. So it takes about 20 minutes of good sweat to get the pesticides to start coming out. But once you hit that 20 minutes, you're pouring out pesticides.
Yeah. And I know you and me, we're naturopathic doctors, so we know that sweating has a huge value. But there are a lot of people that are like, it's just electrolytes. You're not losing anything else through your sweat. And I'm like, there's data to support what you and I are saying.
Totally.
Like pesticides, heavy metals, definitely come out in the sweat. So this is a huge point of like, hey, when you're done in the sauna, you need to go, or playing sports, if you're playing like full court basketball or something, get super sweaty, you need to go shower immediately.
You need to, yep.
Get that stuff off your skin so it doesn't reabsorb.
I even tell people bring a rag with you.
Yeah.
You know, those old tennis sweatbands are totally helpful, because if you're playing tennis or you're outside, you need to actually clear it off.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not reabsorbing it as it drips down.
Yeah.
As the sweat drips down, you're not reabsorbing the chemicals.
Yeah, in my findings, the people that are most susceptible to pesticides are obviously kids and babies, moms, pregnant women, and then the people that are applying the pesticides. But you lived in wine country out in California, and I'd love for you to share with the audience what you saw clinically.
Yeah, so I was in Petaluma and north of that, Santa Rosa. So Sonoma County, Napa County, they say per every acre, there's at least 2 wineries in that county.
Wow.
So lots of vineyards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with lots of vineyards comes lots of pesticides in order to keep the pests away for the way that they are managing their pests. Number one thing that people used was Roundup.
Yeah.
So
Glyphosate
is huge,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we did toxin tests on most of our patients that came in because we were doing a lot of research and it required 150 different types of toxin test. And every single person had high glyphosate. There wasn't one person that wasn't above 2. 2 is considered high.
Wow.
So high. Now, where is it coming from? These people are partially eating organic. They're, trying to avoid the vineyards, but water source, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that's tested in commercial water. So you're drinking it, you're showering in it. Then
brushing your teeth in it. Mm-hmm.
Then come spring, there's a couple times they spray, but spring's a big one, where they spray. And, even me, who tries my best to sweat and do all the naturopathic things to detox, my glyphosate went up to 7 in 3 years.
Wow.
And that was with sweating. That was with binders, IVs even.
Yeah.
So where does it come from? Breathing in the air.
Yeah.
And then, like we talked about, through the water, walking outside.
Are they crop dusting or are they spraying by foot?
Both,
yeah.
Mostly by foot in my area, but the bigger vineyards, they're going to crop dust.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yep.
Smaller is going to be more like direct application.
Yep.
And so that's where it gets into the air. And then, one of the things I found too is if you're not following the manufacturer's guidelines, which, because that's super safe, right? But you potentially are mixing more than you need to, especially in those smaller vineyards or in people that aren't as familiar with using
Yeah.
pesticides. And that's where like the higher risk of like, hey, I put a little too much, I poured a little too much in my mix concentrator, and then I'm spraying it more heavily than you need to
Yep.
get the maximum benefit.
Yep.
Mhm.
And now, because Roundup has gotten such a light in, the public about leading to leukemia, cancers, etc. Now there's Liberty. Have you heard of Liberty?
Oh yeah, the new one that's
The
like going
new
to replace glyphosate that's like so much safer, quote
apparently
unquote.
it's 25% more estrogenic, meaning it's going to affect your estrogen
Meaning it's a
receptors.
hormone disruptor.
So
Yeah.
it's an endocrine disruptor.
Yeah.
So we want to really avoid the Liberty.
Yeah.
They might even rename it now, but that's what
I'm
it was
sure.
originally going to be called.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. I kind of forgot about that. And Bayer, who owns Monsanto, they bought Monsanto in 2018, right after
Yeah.
Johnson got his lawsuit through,
Mm-hmm.
and a huge win for the pesticide like liability issues.
Yep.
Yeah, they're rebranding it. They're selling the drugs. Like it's just it's hard not to get into like, oh, is this intentional? What's going
I
on here?
know.
You're going to tell me you don't know. You're going to tell me this is a super safe substance for us to use? Because like backtracking here, glyphosate is supposedly super safe. And like they are vehement, like adamant, even with the lawsuits. Don't care, super safe.
Yeah.
The data supports it. The EPA's website still says safe,
Interesting.
not problematic for humans. We are expecting an update later this year, but money talks.
Yet it's banned in Europe.
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, really?
It's just not used as heavily in Europe as it is here.
Okay.
In my digging, like pesticides
Not
are still
legal.
used pretty heavily. I didn't find anywhere that it said it was actually banned.
Okay.
Social media myth.
That could be very social media.
Yeah.
But I do know when I was in Europe, our host family said, oh, no, we don't use that here. That doesn't exist. But that doesn't mean that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, less heavily used.
Yeah.
Glyphosate and atrazine are the two pesticides that are used most frequently around the world, which is crazy about atrazine.
And speaking of atrazine, so from once I moved to Vail,
Yeah.
I've been tox testing people within like maybe a 40-mile radius. Atrazine has been the highest.
Interesting.
And I don't know if that's diet related or if there's something leaching from,
golf
typically
courses?
typical golf course. I've seen tobacco.
Tobacco doesn't, well, I guess people smoking.
People, yeah.
Like tobacco's
or
not growing in
Zins,
Vail
maybe.
or Zins. Yeah, maybe. That's nicotine though. Is that synthetic?
Corn.
Yeah, that's so
There's a lot of
interesting.
Mexican food. That's like
Sure.
one of the only really fast foods we have in Vail.
Sure. Oh, that's so curious.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And same thing, glutathione's the best way to get most pesticides out.
Sweating, glutathione,
Yeah.
exercise, just to get the lymphatics flowing. But on a positive note, we do get it out pretty easily. It's just difficult to maintain keeping it out.
Yeah, to keep your exposures low. In the world we live in, it's like, this is where the low tox community can get a little like aggressive is the life we live. Like what are we all just going to go live in a box in a cave someplace and never see the light of day? Like, no. Like we have to find functional ways to support our body, and our body is amazing. We can overcome these things. When you said that your glyphosate went up to a 7, like, were you experiencing some symptoms?
I didn't have any symptoms.
Nice. Okay, that's great.
Man, it was kind of hard because, I was in residency, so I was a little more tired, but, it's hard to say, was this chemical related or, patient fatigue?
Right.
But it doesn't mean it wasn't increasing my risk of, oxidative damage and different types of illnesses long term.
Yeah. What's oxidative damage?
In my opinion, it's just stress on the body.
Yeah, for
causing
sure.
your cells to have to regenerate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is where glutathione's master antioxidant,
That's
but
where
other
glutathione's
antioxidants, things like vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin C, all kinds of different herbs have antioxidants.
Herbs,
Blueberries with the
berries.
polyphenols, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. More antioxidants, the better. And I see people who had more in their diet, they're going to detox much faster and with less side effects.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind sharing, like, was there someone that was kind of like ridiculously sick that you helped them improve their health just by helping to improve detoxification?
Many, actually. Especially your first year residency, you're a little bit hesitant. You're like, oh, am I doing things right? But you just believe in the medicine and you believe in your efforts. And there was one patient I had, she had like 4 autoimmune conditions.
Oof.
There was Sjogren's in there, scleroderma,
Dang.
Hashimoto's. Anyway, she had that, and then she had just chronic fatigue, but she was a Pilates instructor. She got up every day, and she was functional.
Yeah.
However, when she came in, we did a lot of hydrotherapy, constitutional hydrotherapy.
Nice.
During hydrotherapy, I would give a glutathione IV. And I
Ooh.
do that now because it hydrates the body and it
Yeah.
gives a little bit of antioxidant, right?
Uh-huh.
In comparison to the amount of, I do about a liter of
Right.
fluids. And then during that time, you also get the personal connection with the patient. So you really connect. I think that's a huge part of healing.
Totally.
However, with the IVs, and then she'd take binders every day, fulvic
Mhm.
humic acid.
Mhm.
There was about a 6-week period where she was more fatigued.
Sure. It's
And then
kinda cleaning
after
out the
that,
system.
she is like changing the world right now. She's
Yeah.
like top of her Pilates. Um, she has like a Pilates mom group. She's top of that. She travels all over and gives lectures. She's got 4
Cool.
kids. But before that, she was struggling and she had high atrazine. She had high glyphosate. She had 7 different molds in her.
Oof.
She found out that the building she was doing her Pilates in was moldy, so she changed that. Thankfully,
Great.
it wasn't in a long lease.
Nice.
And that really transformed her.
And what about her autoimmune conditions? They kinda settle down?
Yeah, so we did LDN. That
Low dose naltrexone?
low thank you, yep,
Uh-huh.
low dose naltrexone. So I think that really helped. She's
Yeah.
still on that, I
'Kay.
believe. I haven't talked to her in a couple months,
Sure, sure.
but yes, the symptoms did quiet down. Now, was it detox plus LDN? Probably, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I didn't do a deep dive into my research. I kind of focused on gut issues and cancers and kind of left autoimmune. It's just like there's only so much you can do deep
only
dive
so much
into.
you can
But
do.
autoimmune diseases have skyrocketed with the amount of pesticides we've used, and that's
Yeah.
kind of insane. But it totally makes sense. We disrupt the gut, we disrupt the microbiome, we create leaky gut, which makes our cells kind of open
Open
up
up.
to the world.
Mhm.
And now we have our immune system, which is primarily found in our gut, exposed to food, microbes, and whatever other things that we're ingesting
Yep.
on a regular basis. And our immune system says, I don't know what to do with all this. I'm not supposed to see any of this.
I know it's confused.
Now I'm confused.
But it's resilient, people
Yes.
take breaks. I've had a lot of people do bone broth fasts, juice fasts,
Nice.
water fasts, and then it heals.
Yeah.
But the education is really in the exposure and avoiding those chemicals.
To the much as your ability, like obviously crop dusting. I've got some patients. We live in farm country out here too in Colorado,
Mhm.
and close your windows and doors. There's ways to find out when crop
Yep.
dusting is happening and turn on an air filter and try to avoid being outside as much as you can. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's tough, and then if the wind is blowing and it's like, well,
Yeah.
you do the best you can, and that's got to be good enough, because this is one thing I do like to try to educate my patients on. Organic stress and stress is still stress. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter what flavor it is, and stress is worse than trying to do things perfectly.
Mhm. And that's actually something that came up with the firefighters we detoxed.
Mm,
So we did studies with 10 to 15 every year, and they had a whole detox protocol.
nice.
And the ones that stressed less, I actually noticed get better quicker because they weren't so obsessed
And
with
tight.
all, because think about all the things they're exposed to. Once you
So
start,
much.
especially when they had the lithium explosion in California, firefighters got really stressed. So instead
Wow.
of, the exposure was done.
Yeah.
So instead of hyper educating where they
Mhm.
would know what everything would do to the body, we just went to foundations,
Yep.
right? Good food, good sleep,
Yeah.
good sweating,
Yeah.
and then you do the IVs and the binders.
Yeah. What kind of binders are you using?
So it depends on what's in the person,
Sure, that makes
but I'm
sense.
not too particular because binders are binders. But typically I'm using fulvic and humic acid because that's very good for glyphosate and pesticides.
Yep.
And then if there's mold in them, there's a variety of binders you can use.
Mhm.
Zeolite tends to be the one that we find easiest,
Yeah.
but there's many you
Sure.
can take. There's a product called Mycopole by Research Nutritionals.
Nice.
Now, myco is for the mycotoxin. So
Right.
we typically use that one because it has about 5 different binders in it.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, some of those binders can get expensive, and I actually had a patient who came to me after about a year of doing more natural binders, and she was still really sick from mold. So we were able to get her a prescription of cholestyramine.
Cholestyramine, I think, is
Mhm.
in, there's a little bit of cholestyramine
Oh,
in
nice.
Mycopole. Yeah.
Is that over the counter?
But it's not a ton.
Don't tell anybody. Yeah, Eric Dorninger, who I hope to get on the podcast sometime up in
Oh,
Boulder,
yeah.
who specializes in mold illness and CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, is a big advocate for cholestyramine. And
Yeah.
that gal went from having neurological symptoms unable to kind of like put words together in a cohesive way that made sense. Like you could kind of follow her, but tracking was difficult and her gait was all funny. 6 weeks of doing cholestyramine and it
Yeah.
was a like
Game
night and day
changer.
difference. Yeah. So like these things, like that's what we're talking about. The body is super resilient. We can do so
Totally.
much. And if you're eating fast food twice a day and you're staying up until 2 in the morning playing video games or something else, I don't know what other adults do. I just hear that's a common one. Um, yeah, that's going to be tough for you to help your body heal, and that's going to put additional stress
Yeah.
on your system.
And something in Vail too, what's another stress is hyperactivity.
Yeah, totally.
So,
It's the Colorado syndrome.
yeah, 4
Yeah,
hours of exercise, great, but you're trying to detox. That doesn't go well together. You're gonna be
no,
in bed longer.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like this was a quintessential Colorado moment. We were skiing at Powderhorn a couple winters ago, and we ran into some friends from college,
Mhm.
and it's like March or something. So it's like end of season, or maybe it was like February, like not too, it wasn't the snowiest year. And they're like, okay, well, we've been skiing all day. We're gonna go biking in Fruta now. And I was like, hopefully none of you guys get autoimmune disorders, but this is how it begins
This
with
is how
the
it
I'm going
starts.
to exercise all day, I'm going to eat bars, and I'm not going to really pay too much attention to my hydration and whatnot.
Yep.
Because is Sonoma County high elevation?
No.
Yeah. The elevation here definitely dehydrates us much quicker. Like I'm amazed with just like a little bit of electrolytes and like it does wonders for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Agreed.
especially those hyperactive,
Mhm.
yang dominant Colorado. It's sunny. I can't be in my pajamas, people.
Yep.
It's okay to rest. It's okay to stay in your pajamas.
In fact, it's a must.
It's a must.
Uh-huh.
Yes, real rest is great for our adrenals and helps our body regenerate itself more so.
Yep.
Um, so IV therapy, this is a little bit of a point of contention in some of our
Mhm.
different peer spaces in naturopathic medicine because it's pretty high force. I'm not
Yeah.
hearing you say you're doing chelation.
No. Um, I've done it before, but
Yeah,
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary
I've
either.
I've done both, and chelation just results in electrolyte imbalances.
Yeah,
Glutathione and the determinants of health, in my opinion, has gotten things out. I've even had people with really high leads, mercuries, thallium, cesium from
well,
you know Chernobyl and all that,
yeah.
and you don't necessarily need to chelate.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
awesome. I've seen more harm come from chelation, at least in the patients I've seen.
yeah,
Is like, they're spending, however much money, thousands of dollars, they get chelated and they're worse. Their fatigue is worse. They can't sleep. They're super stressed, like they're really anxious feeling. And, we
yeah,
do a couple determinants for health. These are things like we said, like your sleep, your eating, your relationships. Yeah, just keep it simple.
yeah. And it is a privilege to have the time
It
and
is.
energy, but if you're sick enough, you will find that time,
Yeah, isn't
no
there
matter
isn't there
how
a
hard
quote
it
that's
is.
like everything else matters until your health is in the tank and then the
Yep.
only thing that matters is your health?
Yep.
And I
Exactly.
don't know if you've had this experience, but I was a sick kid. I was a sick
Yep.
teenager and
Me
like
too.
my health kind of came to a point when I was about 16 and it just teetered overboard. And I was willing to do anything. I tried the conventional way and helped in some ways, made me worse in other ways, and then eventually it just kept getting worse. And eventually I was like, okay, let's change our diet. Let's do this thing and okay, I'm not going to stay up until whatever time in the morning in college anymore. Like, I'm going to prioritize getting better sleep. And
Yep.
how the heck I lived off of 4 to 6 hours of sleep, I have no idea.
You were also young, which helps a
True,
lot.
true, true. The benefit of having kids when you're in your 20s or early
Yeah.
teens or late teens.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So
But
chelation. So
high
yeah,
intervention,
yeah,
you had a question around that? Oh,
yeah. Tell
do I
me.
feel like it's high intervention? I will say, when I was in school, we took the IV class. I thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do naturopaths do this? I'm never going to do this. I kind of took it as a joke. Then my residency, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're forced to do things during your
Oh
residency.
yes.
Now, I had already taken the class, thank goodness, but I remember him being my mentor, who I really admire, being like, you will get people better so much faster with IVs. I
Yeah.
have done it for 30 plus years. And I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, but you don't have to, determinants of health, da da da.
People are so much sicker now than they were 30 years ago.
Then there's that. And there's
Mhm.
convenience of it, right?
Sure.
But I will say, the gut doesn't always absorb things. Our guts aren't that healthy. So if
Yeah.
we can bypass the gut and put things straight into veins. And also, I've noticed that IVs require people to actually relax for an hour. If you
Yeah.
give the right environment and they're coming in once a week for 12 weeks, this is like with the firefighters we detoxed.
Mm-hmm.
Why they needed IVs? Yes, got things out faster, but two, they had an hour of parasympathetic once a week. And
Yeah.
that was enough to let the body and the vis kick in and heal itself.
That's a really good point, like mandatory relaxation. You mentioned something we say often in naturopathic medicine, the vis. The
Mm-hmm.
vis is our vital force. The difference that we can tell between a dead plant and a living plant is that vitality that something has. And
Yes.
so by triggering parasympathetic, by having these people having constitutional hydrotherapy, which I'll have you explain what that is in a
Mm-hmm.
moment, you're making them rest, calm their heart rate. Maybe they go into a meditative state. Maybe they even fall asleep slightly.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of forced to do that. So multi-purposing, habit stacking, if you will.
Totally.
And
Yep.
anymore in our culture, we need these like forced, you have to sit down and do this. And I even had a patient one time, Ellen, tell me, it's really hard to do these things you're asking me because I'm living in the real world and my friends just asked me to go have a beer and I want to go have a beer.
Yep.
Well, you could do that, or you could make the time to not go do that right now. And then you have the question of like, is this affecting our social connection,
Yep.
which is also really important for healing?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what's constitutional hydrotherapy?
Okay, I'm going to describe it like I would to a patient. So the
Perfect.
first thing I tell them is it's about an hour, hour and a half treatment where you will be relaxing, and we are going to focus on vasodilating, meaning opening up the blood vessels and the lymphatics, and vasoconstricting,
Yeah.
so closing off the
Mm-hmm.
blood vessels and lymphatics. That process really helps flush out toxins, it restores our vitality, and it allows the body to heal.
Yeah.
And it uses e-stim machine,
Mm-hmm.
which are two little pads, electrodes on the back. Now that really helps, I tell them, with digestion, nervous system regulation.
Mm-hmm.
It's working on the smooth muscle. It's working on the nervous system. But essentially, it's an hour treatment that is supposedly a spa treatment, but really it's using
Yeah. Spa treatment. Yeah.
hot and cold water to vasodilate, vasoconstrict, and then an e-stim to help regulate smooth muscle contractions and the
Mm-hmm.
nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not electrocuting. I had a patient say, you're going to electrocute me.
Yeah.
No, it's like a slight, it's a pulsing of of sine waves.
Yep.
And we do it in a couple places, at the corners of the scapula on the back, and then on the, above the belly button? Oh my God, no, below the belly button. Below the belly button,
Yeah.
and then
Around
behind,
there.
kind of making a sandwich on our belly. You're not using wet towels when the electrode is on the front. It's
Mm-hmm.
a very therapeutic treatment. And one of my main mentors in Seattle, Dr. Molly Niedermeyer, even with her cancer treatments, she was doing at least once a week. I do find efficacy of hydrotherapy constitutional to be better at 3 or more a week.
Mm.
And that's what Dr. Letitia Dick in Spokane does, 3 to 5 a week, which is
Wow.
kind of
Good for
crazy.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she has
She's
her
got the
office is
system.
set up for it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so do you offer constitutional in Vail?
I do. Yep.
Nice. Yeah. I'm set up to offer it as well. And one of the tips that I've found that's very helpful is getting a hot towel warmer.
Yeah. That's what you told me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Game changer. keep the hands from having to squeeze out. Cause like, man, the hot water,
Gets hot.
it gets hot and what we can tolerate. Yeah, that's a fantastic treatment. It's not a spa treatment. It is very therapeutic, very,
It is
very
very
valuable.
therapeutic.
Yeah, for calming that nervous system. And again, like I'd say that's one of the more common issues I see in Colorado when someone's got like some gut things going on and this and that. And like they're, hey, I need to go ice climbing this weekend and I need to do this and this and
Yeah.
this. And I'm like, oh my God, can you just rest? Like, do you draw? Like, can you go get in your hammock and go draw
Yeah.
by the river or something if it's season appropriate, or
Yeah.
watch your friends ice climb? I don't know. That's good for your nervous system, but
Yeah. It wouldn't be good for mine.
not mine either.
But it goes back to the point that if we can get people to just rest, right? And
Yeah.
of course, we have the therapeutics of the water and the stim machine. But
Yeah.
if they could just rest, then their body is going to be so much more likely to recover from what they're trying to recover from
Yeah.
than someone who doesn't do that.
Totally. What else is something that's really important with IV therapy?
So binders, which we talked about,
Yeah.
right? Because you want to bind in the gut whatever we have mobilized in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So I would never, typically there's no reason I can see not using a binder, especially post IV.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think, what else is really important? Sweating we talked about, but I don't want to overlook it because if you think about it, if you're sweating out chemicals, you're bypassing the body from having to process them, meaning the liver
Yeah.
doesn't have to then, bind it to the bile, and then your gut has to, package it and let it out eventually.
Mhm.
So sweating just bypasses that system. Let the chemicals go from the skin out,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
sweating's very, very important. Um, Exercise helps pump things deeper
Yeah, the
into the
lymph.
cells and
Totally.
pushes it out. So again, it's foundations,
Yeah.
hydration. Thankfully, IVs give you that hydration. If
Mhm.
you're doing a big enough bag, if you're
Yeah.
only doing 50 mils, then it's on the patient to hydrate. I try to do bigger bags.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Again, elevation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember this story. I was on Dr. Hibbs' shift. John Hibbs,
Mm-hmm.
he
My
was my
favorite.
environmental medicine
Mhm.
teacher. We saw a number of patients that were worked in the Gulf during
Mhm.
the BP oil spill back in the mid 2000s. You remember that?
Yeah.
And
It was,
this guy, like, still a decade plus later, had hydrocarbons from
whoa.
swimming in that, and he was wearing like protective equipment, and he was pretty sick.
Yeah.
And we got him doing peat baths,
Great.
sweating. I don't think we did IVs with him, but peat
Yeah.
baths, which bring up the temperature of the body to help you sweat. We were doing sauna therapy with him and constitutional hydrotherapy, and then, foundations, clean diet,
Mm-hmm.
good sleep, and things like that. And it was just a couple months before he started feeling substantially better.
Yeah, I
And his
bet.
hydrocarbons went from off the charts to non-detectable.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's not just pesticides, it's not just heavy metals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you work in the oil and gas field, if you get gas on yourself when you're filling up your car or your
Mm-hmm.
lawnmower, like, that is absorbing into our bloodstream, and
Yeah.
it's, highly concerning. And the amount of, I can't remember what the statistics are, maybe of the number of people that have autoimmune disorders now compared to even in the 90s.
I don't know, but I know it's a lot
It's
higher.
way higher.
Like
Yeah.
10
Yeah,
times.
I have this graph that I've seen, and I didn't pull it for my pesticides episode, but of the the incidence of celiac disease is directly associated. Well, I can't say that based on this data. The lines
Very similar.
are very similar to the amount of glyphosate we've added to our food, and like they both
Mhm.
raise like very precipitously from like 1996 onward, and just like goes up and up and up and up and up.
I believe it.
And it's like, whoa. And celiac disease, for those that don't know, that's a gluten allergy that's developed to autoimmune. Like, our
Yep.
body starts developing a freak out mechanism to gluten.
Mhm.
And that's
In
your
cells.
wheats and things like that. And I don't know what you think about this, but I'm a big advocate for organic wheat. And I wonder if how many people have gluten sensitivities, it's actually a glyphosate sensitivity.
Yeah. So my mentor would say it's either pesticides or mold,
Yeah.
right? Because if you think about what celiac is, like we talked about, autoimmune destruction of our enterocytes, so
Yeah.
the actual gut cells.
Mm-hmm.
Now, gluten is the thing that is triggering the autoimmune.
Right.
But what's on gluten?
Right.
Okay, highly processed. We got glyphosate. We got, it was stored in a moldy mill, right?
Right.
So then the body's not actually seeing the gluten as foreign, it's seeing the pesticide or the mold. Then it starts eating the enterocyte.
Yeah.
So is it the mold? Is it the pesticide? Is it the gluten?
Is it the gluten?
Maybe it's all of it.
Maybe
but
it's all of it. Maybe
it
the
doesn't help.
combination effect. It
Yeah.
doesn't, because this is the strange phenomena. Like, you go to Europe, people go to Europe and they suddenly can eat gluten.
Yep.
And
Very many people
there's a
can.
couple pieces there that I think are critical. One is the type of wheat that we use primarily in the US is shorter, genetically engineered wheat that can tolerate being sprayed heavily with glyphosate so it doesn't get knocked over.
Oh,
More
interesting.
traditional wheat is very tall and a little more like flimsy. So
Mhm.
you spray a heavy layer of pesticides as a desiccating agent, and it just like knocks it down.
Yep.
So more traditional wheat is primarily what's used to make breads and pastas in Europe. And here, that's not what we're using. We're using
Mhm.
glyphosate, Roundup Ready. It's not quite Roundup Ready. It's not the same. That's a trademark name. But there's that piece. And then the desiccating using glyphosate. It's kind of interesting. From a business perspective, totally makes sense. From a
Yeah.
health perspective, completely wackadoodle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super interesting to think about. And I've been running celiac panels, so that has sensitivity and the genetics.
Uh-huh.
Because genetics,
Like a
doesn't mean-
HLA?
HLA, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, there's a panel on Vibrant where
Okay.
it does sensitivity and the genetics.
Sure.
And I will say a lot of people are positive, but not everybody's got the sensitivity.
Right.
However, my older patients are usually 100%. If they have the gene, they also have the sensitivity. So there's something with time
Mm.
where that gene, activates, their stomach gets sensitive to gluten, and now they're celiac. But
Yeah.
this is a late onset celiac. This
Yeah.
isn't oh, you're born with it or you're not. And I
Right, right,
think it's
right.
because that's been developing due to all
Interesting.
the,
So this is now we're getting into epigenetics, the things that
yeah,
we can turn off or turn on depending on what our exposures are. Um, I wonder. So this is really interesting because this makes me question too. I have a patient with late onset, like in her 60s, onset of
diabetes.
type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
That's an autoimmune disorder. I've never met someone that's an adult, like
I
not like a
know.
20-year-old adult, like an adult.
Don't they call it like type 1.5 now or something?
Oh, I don't know. I
Think
haven't heard that.
that's the slang for it in the doctor's world.
Huh.
The MD world, they call it type 1.5
It's so interesting.
because it's,
It
on late onset,
Yeah,
type 1, so type
yeah.
1.5.
It's like exposure. It's gotta be some kind of exposure. So then it begs the question, if there's this like late onset celiac, late onset type 1 diabetes, can we is there a way to reverse it? Like to get epigenetics to kind of backtrack
I
a little
think
bit?
so.
There's gotta be. I wanna see, and we have our whole clinical careers ahead of us to see what we can figure out and the patients that are willing to work with us on these kind of like, we don't know, but let's see.
Yep.
And I wonder
We
if
have lots of
I
those.
wonder if IV therapy would be one of the main modalities there, getting enough
Mhm.
glutathione. Did you ever test blood for glutathione levels? Like, did you ever test to see what people's glutathione levels were?
I don't think so, no. We've done PFAS,
Yeah.
P versus blood, because it's still in the debated world, but because of the solubility of it, it's
Yeah.
best in the urine to measure, from
Yeah.
what I understand,
Yeah.
but I'd be open to,
Yeah.
if someone had a current exposure to test it.
Yeah. PFAS, man, that's yikes. Were you able to see
Yeah.
PFA levels decrease with doing IVs and hydrotherapy?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Huge. Well, okay, so there's not perfect testing. Let's
Sure.
start with that.
They're tricky molecules to test for.
Yeah. But with Vibrant America, same lab, they do a PFAS panel,
Uh-huh.
same lab as the toxin test. They do a PFAS panel. And with the firefighters, because they're the
Right.
perfect people to measure it on because they have their
Huge.
turnouts,
Yeah.
right? When
Mhm.
they're actively on, in fire, so they're heating up.
Yeah.
We would see high, it's called Gen X, which is a funny name, but that was very high because it's in their turnouts. It's also in their clothing.
Mhm.
So interesting. The clothing they're required to wear is full of PFAS. But
Yeah.
anyways, Gen X was high on most of them. After their 16-week, some people did a little longer, detox, practically zero.
Wow.
Now, these people were outside of fire season, so much less use of PFAS, but
Sure.
they still had it on their clothes. They're living in a world where there's PFAS in our water, there's
Yeah.
PFAS, in our camping gear.
Yeah.
But things really decreased, and that was huge for us and we're trying to get it published, but it's quite the process.
Sure.
But that's huge because there's been no form of explaining how do you get PFAS out. Because
Right.
people just want, oh, take this medicine or this
Right.
binder. It's not that. It's
No.
sweating. It's detox
Yeah, you got it. It's
through
a
IVs, all.
combination of things. And PFAS, they're called forever chemicals.
Exactly.
99% of people have them, including babies that are fresh out the womb. Like they're
Yeah.
everywhere. And I will put a plug in every time for this movie, Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo. You've seen it?
Yes. Yep.
It is. Fact checked it when I was watching it the first time.
Yeah.
It's pretty dang accurate. The lawsuits against DuPont for intentionally poisoning several communities and
Yep.
their sneaky tactics so they can't ever have a class action lawsuit. Like it's
Yep.
classic corporation money. Yeah, your ski equipment will
Ski
have
equipment.
PFAS. Anything with Gore-Tex is going to be covered in PFAS. Your nonstick pans, even the green nonstick pans,
Yep.
don't care. There's still PFAS or some version of that. Carpets is another big one that people
Oh, yeah.
don't fully
All
know.
furniture, really. Waterproof.
Waterproof anything. Your
Yeah.
waterproof makeup too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we had one firefighter who's a huge advocate for preventing PFAS within their
Nice.
industry because he had a brain tumor and he's been through the detox, 3 or 4 times, but he has actually stood up against, numerous councils in California. He's gone to
Nice.
Congress. He's been everywhere. But he really believes that tumor in his brain was from PFAS.
I believe it.
And he's gotten rid of it now, but
Great.
eye-opening when you see that.
Yeah, brain cancer has become more prevalent. I wouldn't say common, but that's not something I remember hearing about people having when I was little. Like I feel like cancers in general have just like skyrocketed.
Mhm.
Like such a major exposure. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
1 in 3 now, I think they
1
say.
in 3 men and 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men.
Okay.
It's kinda like
Wow,
gnarly
that's huge.
statistics.
That's why our insurance is so high. Partially.
Insurance is a whole 'nother
Yeah.
can of worms to get into. Um, so PFAS,
Yep.
yeah, there's a lot we can talk about with toxins, but again, like, rather than stress people out with, like, all of the things, and, like, I feel like that's what we try to do is a good job, is, like, we do the research so our patients don't have to get all, like, wigged out about things.
Totally. Yeah. Avoid the stress. Let us help you
Yep,
navigate through it.
yep,
But I always tell people to, for me, look at my grandpa.
yeah,
He's 97 almost.
yep,
He's lived through wars, he's lived through chemicals. However, he's constantly moving and he eats a clean diet and he's okay.
yeah.
So,
It's
people are
very
going to be
possible.
okay.
Totally.
And all this is overwhelming, but it's the daily habits, don't
Mhm.
need to be perfect. Just do your best. And then it's the yearly detoxing,
Yeah,
do a detox once a year.
yeah.
Doesn't have to be intense. Just do a week detox.
What is that, like a juice fast or something?
Yeah, I'm thinking more like plant-based foods for
Yeah, get
a
extra
week,
fiber in there.
do a really thin or small eating window.
Mhm.
Let your body really activate the detox pathways, do a
Yeah,
lot of sweating,
yeah,
movement for 1 week, and then, if you wanna go get IVs, great. If you can't do that, take some liposomal glutathione,
yeah.
take some binders, and then, you cleared your system for, a good amount of time.
Yeah, that's pretty functional for a lot of people. Do you agree that like heavy physical activity when a person's doing kind of like a detox, or I'd say that's kind of more of like a fast, if you will, that heavy exercise should be limited?
Yes.
Yeah,
Especially it depends, heavy exercise is different to different people.
sure.
But I would say what we tell people is 50 minutes or less is your max amount, and don't max your cardio.
Yeah,
Just 50 minutes of movement,
yeah,
like zone 3 if
yeah,
you're a fitness person,
yeah.
not zone 5.
Yeah, you can do like that's a light jog, that's some
Yep.
yoga, that's maybe even Pilates, like,
Pilates.
yeah,
Yep. It's a nice hike,
a nice hike. Yeah,
get in
short hike,
nature.
but yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
get in nature always. Yep, exactly. A swim could be good in a lake, maybe. I don't know what's worse, chlorine or a lake. I don't know.
Ugh,
Just go for a
debatable.
swim. Go
Yeah.
for a swim. Don't worry
Don't
about
think
it.
about it. Yeah. Uh,
My skin does not do well in chlorine, so it'll be a lake for me.
there you go.
Um, well, I feel like this has been really insightful, and then we're also sharing with people, hey, you don't have to come see us. Like,
No.
and you're not saying go buy a $500 supplement
No.
detox protocol. You're saying, hey, clean up your diet, get a little extra fiber. I know the carnivores are really going to love that, but fiber is what binds to our bile, and bile is what is excreting the toxins. Our liver excretes the toxins in our bile.
Mhm.
And then our fiber binds it up, so we poop it out.
Yep.
Or
It's a binder, natural binder.
natural binder, exactly. And so fiber, good sleep, having good relationships. I'd say get on the ground too. Go stand in your backyard or go
Barefoot.
to the park. And
Oh, reduce alcohol,
definitely
because I've
huge one.
seen that become very problematic too. We had the firefighters have a fun conference in the middle of their detox.
Oh, good.
And we didn't explicitly say no alcohol because we didn't even at that point
Consider
we
it.
didn't even think that would be a problem.
Sure.
We just kind of assumed people wouldn't do it. But that's never a good idea to assume.
Yeah.
Anyways, these people came back extremely hungover feeling. They said, "Hey, I only had 2 drinks. Usually I can drink 6. What happened?" And we're like, "Well, let us explain to you. Your liver is working very, very hard to get all of this out of you." So it's important, people, during your detox, your week
Yeah.
detox of the year, eliminate drugs and alcohol.
Definitely.
Period.
Don't add more insult to injury.
Yep.
Did you find that some alcohols are cleaner than others?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Biodynamic wine from, I think I had this one patient had family there, but I think it was from Italy.
Yeah.
But, her family's drinking it forever. She's got relatives in their hundreds.
Yeah.
They make it themselves based off of the moon cycle. There's no pesticides. Yes,
Mhm.
is there alcohol in it? Yes.
Yeah.
But it's much cleaner than things
Yeah.
with sulfites and
Yeah.
mold and pesticides, like
Yeah.
we talked about, that can come from Napa and
Yeah.
wine country.
Yeah, I feel like wine can be pretty bad, and I'd say whiskeys or any other like grain alcohols, beers too. Like I've
Beers.
seen those really create a lot of like extra burden. I haven't done a lot of tox panel testing, but maybe I need to start with some of my sicker patients.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the alcohol industry, Mark Hyman posted, it's like people are drinking substantially less than they were even 3 years ago. It's like
Oh,
52% of people are drinking
wow.
I'll drink occasionally. Like I'm not a big drinker. I can go months without drinking, and then I'll drink 3 times in a
Mhm.
week. It just depends what's going on or how I'm feeling. But um, alcohol is not ideal for us. But
Yeah.
everything in moderation. And I always like
Mhm.
to bring up what Jim Sensenig says: we get 2 vices, and sex and chocolate don't count. So those speaks to those relatives in their hundreds that
Mm.
grow their
Yeah.
own wine. They live by the biodynamic, which, we'll talk about that another podcast. It's a
Yeah.
little weird, but there's definitely something to it, like getting a ritual into cycles of like
Yep.
following the astrology. It's pretty woo woo, but there's something to it.
There's something to it. But also the wine gives people the social life often, especially in, family-based communities where
Yeah.
that's central.
Yeah.
So,
It's
that's a big
part
part
of
of
some
it.
cultures. No,
Yep.
totally. Like, and again, that's that. Do we have someone kind of isolate themselves because their family is a big family and they like to have wine with dinner or whatever it
Mhm.
is? And I don't know if having a glass of wine is worse than not socializing. Actually, being lonely is much more problematic for
Agreed.
our health than having a glass of wine. So, like, if it's between that, I mean, unless you're like insanely sick or you're going through a detox,
Yeah, yeah.
that might be a wise time to, take a break for a little
It's a
while.
determinant of health, in
It
my
is
opinion. It
100% agree
go
with you.
Yeah.
It's a huge one. If you don't have good community, it's tough. And yeah. So Ellen, where can people get in touch with you if they want to work with you or they are curious to learn more about anything you have to offer?
Sure. My number one thing would be my website, drellenmillard.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have an Instagram. It's not perfect, but that's also Dr. Ellen Millard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best way. You can call my office, but I
Yeah.
think starting on those platforms is the way to go.
Are you still licensed in California?
Yes.
Awesome. So you're still seeing
For at least 2
patients.
more years. I'll
Nice.
probably keep renewing it because I don't see my patients in California going anywhere.
Sure, sure,
And I
sure.
usually go there about once a year. So,
Nice. Okay, awesome. And unfortunately, in Colorado, we're not allowed to do IV therapy,
yeah.
even though
Woo.
we're trained much more thoroughly than I have an MD. Actually, I send patients to in Grand Junction, and she's like, "Yeah, you guys are the ones that are teaching the classes to the MDs because we didn't learn how to do IV
I
therapy at all,
know.
and we can prescribe it, but you guys can't." It's
I'm
like,
hoping it changes, man, because I've
ay,
done
ay,
so many
ay.
and I've seen it help too many people, but I can go to California and do it. So if I
Yeah,
need to do that, I got to do that. But I'm
yeah,
hoping to get on board with the law changing there.
yeah. I'd say good luck. I did it for two
Yeah, I
years.
saw that. Saw the
It's
laws
heartbreaking.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the main thing I think against us in Colorado is we have a huge amount of educating to do. Like,
Yeah.
what's the difference? We actually did go to school. Like, we're not just like some 3 month online folks pretending masquerading as
Yeah.
doctors. Like, we
Yeah.
actually have medical education. So I'll fill you in on that
That's
later.
fine. Yeah.
Legislative shenanigans. For those of you listening, thank you so much for tuning in, talking about this. Hopefully, you got the bit. Organic stress is still stress regardless. Find ways to reduce your stress. Stress management skills are critical in these times, i.e. turn the news off, stop watching it, don't read headlines. You're not going to miss anything. I promise. The important things people will talk about and you'll hear them. But if you found this episode interesting or something you disagree with, or you were annoyed or offended, that's the best way I learn is if we can start having a conversation in the comments. Also, too, like liking and subscribing helps me know that the word is getting out there about the quality of information I'm putting out there to support not only my profession, but give functional ways for you guys that can't afford or don't want to or don't have access to seeing a naturopathic doctor can then get. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.